My dad worked really hard to raise me. That's why I've decided to support him until the end. My name is John. My mom passed away from an illness shortly after I was born, so I have no memories of her. But my dad often talked about her, which made me feel close to her. My dad, Mike, was a top salesperson at a food company and seemed to be on the fast track to success. However, to take care of me after losing my mom, it seems he gave up on advancing his career. He didn't leave me in the care of my grandparents and managed both work and taking care of me. He even made time to attend my school events, despite his busy schedule. Back then, it was rare for dads to be involved in school events, and I'd sometimes get teased by my friends. But no matter what anyone said, I was never embarrassed. I was so proud of my dad for caring about me and prioritizing spending time with me despite his busy work life. Thanks to him, I never felt lonely without a mom. I admired my dad and decided that I wanted to be like him someday. To support my dad, I started helping out with household chores. By the time I graduated from elementary school, I could handle most tasks on my own. When I started middle school, I also began a paper route job. Though my dad told me not to worry about money and to enjoy school, even as a kid, I could tell we were financially strained. I worked hard in my studies to avoid causing any worries, consistently ranking at the top of my class. Thanks to that, I was able to enter a well-known local prep school with a scholarship that covered my tuition. I wanted to ease my dad's burden as soon as possible, so I aimed to go to college and then work for a letting company. Studying was tough, but with my dad's support, I graduated from college and landed a job at my dream company this spring. When I entered college, my dad said, "John, you can live on your own if you want." I felt that living on my own would mean extra expenses for my dad, so I turned it down. Even after getting a job, I thought it better to save money and give it to my dad rather than spend it on living alone. Fortunately, my workplace was just a train ride away from home, so I decided to commute from there. I was assigned to the sales department of a housing company. I've always been interested in architecture and studied it in college as well. Starting the job, I realized what I had learned wasn't enough. I had to study materials and other aspects, visit clients, pitch new products, and prepare for events organized by the company. It was a hectic schedule. But I loved being involved in architecture and learning new things, which was very fulfilling. One weekend, I had to work on my day off for an event that included an open house for new properties organized by my company. When I returned home after the event, my dad was nowhere to be found. Laundry was half done, and dinner was half prepared. Everything was left midway as if my dad had just been there. There was a feeling that my dad had been around until just a moment ago, but something seemed off. Since I couldn't find my dad anywhere in the house, I decided to call his cell phone. It just kept ringing every time I called. Wait, the flip-flap on the balcony are missing. Realizing this, I decided to go out and look for him. I searched everywhere he might go: the supermarket, drugstore, bookstore, hardware store, but he was nowhere to be found. Then, my phone rang. "Hello, John, have you found Mike?" It was Nancy, my aunt, a relative living nearby. "No, I've been to all his usual spots, but he's not there. He hasn't come home yet either. Could you maybe wait a bit longer at home in case he comes back?" To avoid missing each other, I asked Nancy to stay home and wait for my dad's return. My phone rang again, and this time it displayed Mike. I quickly answered, "Hello." Then a calm voice said, "Is this John? I'm calling from the police station. Are you Mike's son?" "Yes, that's right. We have your dad here. He's saying he doesn't know how to get home. Could you please come to pick him up?" Upon being told, I headed to the police station as instructed. My dad looked extremely tired. When he saw me, he weakly said, "Ah, John, is that you?" "John, I'm sorry. Come to think of it, I had been busy myself and hadn't paid much attention. but I had felt that something was off with my dad lately. He had been repeating the same dinner menu for several days and kept asking where his pen or nail clippers were. I thought it was just part of getting older and didn't think much of it. I was called to the police to complete the necessary procedures. While signing the documents, they asked me, "Does your father have any chronic illnesses?" I answered, "No, not really. You might want to consider the possibility of dementia. We recommend he consults a doctor," they suggested. I had thought it was too early for my dad to have dementia, and we had even joked about it a few years back. But this incident lingered in my mind. On the way home, wondering how to bring this up to my dad, he suddenly said, "Hey John, do you think I should go to the hospital?" "Yeah, I think it might be a good idea to get checked out," I managed to reply. The next day, since I was off from work, I accompanied my dad to the hospital. The diagnosis was early onset Alzheimer's. Both my dad and I were shocked by the result. The doctor and nurses explained the medication and treatment options, but honestly, it was hard to take it all in. After receiving some advice from the nurse, we decided to discuss what to do next together. My dad was considering taking a leave from work. Having seen my dad work all these years, I told him, "Maybe it's time to take it easy. You always said you'd like to relax. Don't worry. I'm managing my job well." Dad replied softly, "Really? It feels like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders." After that, we consulted with the nurses and social workers to discuss the treatment plan. Since my dad is still young and physically healthy, we decided against attending a facility and opted to continue outpatient visits for medication. Home care became our main approach, marking the beginning of a new life for my dad and me. My dad's journey of recuperation began. Nothing much changed in our daily routine. I continued working and managing the household chores as before. I balanced work and household chores. This wasn't a significant burden since my dad and I had always cooperated on these tasks. My dad took his medication from the hospital and spent his days peacefully at home, enjoying the garden or immersing himself in his favorite books. However, when work became demanding, I sometimes had to start early in the morning or return home on the very last train. Therefore, I had Nancy, a neighbor, check on him during the day. To avoid burdening her every day, we asked for her help every few days. Nancy was always willing to help, which was a huge relief for me. One day, I managed to come home a bit earlier in the evening. As I entered saying, "I'm home," I bumped into Nancy. "I appreciate your help. Thank you so much," I said, expressing my gratitude. Nancy replied, "It's nothing. I brought a little food for dinner, so please have some," pointing to the table. She continued, "You're doing a great job balancing work and care. Being young, you must get invited out for drinks or have to entertain clients. That's all part of the job, but don't overdo it, and feel free to ask for help." With that, Nancy hurried back home. Just like Nancy mentioned, being in sales, I often had to entertain clients and attend drinking parties with my boss. In my department, there's an old-fashioned boss who prioritizes work over family. David has been the department head since I joined. Initially, I found him intimidating, but he's competent and well-respected by others. He was strict with me but also showed expectations, which motivated me to work hard. As I took my work seriously, David began to take an interest in me. He would take me along to greet our clients and have me work closely with him during events. Thanks to him, I quickly learned the ropes and became well regarded by our clients. David once shared his own upbringing and background with me. I was raised by my grandparents because my parents were divorced. So, when I heard about your situation, I felt it was similar. When you see your parents struggling, you become desperate not to end up the same way. I also worked hard to repay my grandparents as soon as I could. That's why I see my past self in you." David shared, indicating that he had faced hardships in his youth and saw a reflection of himself in me. That's probably why he was trying to help me become independent quickly through work. However, that was fine when my dad was healthy. Now that my dad is in need of care, I can't just focus on work. Lately, David has been inviting me to entertain clients more frequently than before. You need to be able to handle client entertainment properly soon, he would say. I'm worried about my dad, so I've stopped returning home on the last train as I used to. I try to finish my work within regular hours to get home earlier. David doesn't seem pleased with this. Hey John, we're going out for drinks with President Miller of Miller Building Materials today, so we're coming too, he told me. Sorry, I have to take care of my dad in the evening. When I tried to decline, he said, "What are you talking about? President Miller likes you and has been asking about you insistently." Sorry, but I can't leave my dad alone. I apologize. When I refused, David got angry, saying, "What's wrong with you? Don't you have any motivation?" Despite this, I continued to work with David as before. But I was truly troubled because, despite repeatedly declining, I was still being asked to attend client entertainment events. Hey John, you can handle the entertainment by now. Make it happen this time. It's for Thompson Industries, a company we owe a lot to. You've been there a few times, right? Your future work depends on this opportunity. You can make it, right? David pressed with unusual intensity. Reluctantly, I agreed to attend the entertainment that evening. I asked Nancy to take care of my dad. Despite the short notice, Nancy agreed, saying, "It's okay. Your work is important, and you should take it seriously once in a while. Your dad will be fine." This is an important entertainment evening, David emphasized. I greeted the people from Thompson Industries with all due respect. But I was anxious about my dad and couldn't wait for the event to end. David noticed my distraction and reprimanded me. "Hey, don't zone out. Focus." Sorry, he seems a bit inexperienced. My apologies. Just when I was eager to leave, my phone rang. It was a call from Nancy, so I excused myself from the table to answer. "Hello, John. I'm in a bit of a bind. Mike seems restless. He's been pacing and now he's trying to go outside. It's troubling. He took his evening medication, but he's getting refer, and I'm worried." Nancy sounded anxious. Nancy, who always willingly helped, making such a call was unusual. I had a bad feeling that something wasn't right. Though nothing severe had happened yet, it seemed only a matter of time. The doctor had warned, even if the medication seems to calm him down, his condition can worsen suddenly. Be especially vigilant if anything seems off. I informed David that I needed to leave due to my dad's condition. He responded angrily, "Enough with the excuses. This is work, be serious. Do you even care?" Then my phone rang again. "John, your dad seems really unsettled with just me here. I'm sorry, but could you come back early?" Nancy asked urgently. Feeling the situation was dire, I told David I had to leave, and without waiting for a response, I rushed out. Upon my return, my dad seemed somewhat calm at the sight of me. "John, you are back. Good. I'm feeling unwell, so I might lie down. Nancy was here helping around the house, so maybe give her a thank you call later," he said before heading to the bedroom. Seemingly forgetting Nancy was still nearby. I thanked Nancy for staying by my dad's side. "I'm sorry for the sudden request. It must have been tough. I really appreciate it." "It's okay. I'm just sorry I couldn't be more helpful. And John, don't push yourself too hard," Nancy kindly advised, also showing concern for me. The next day, I went to work feeling guilty for leaving the entertainment early and causing inconvenience to David. Upon arriving at work, I first went to apologize to David, who responded with a laugh and a pat on my shoulder, saying, "It was really a mess. I had to take charge and get through it somehow. You owe me one for this." Feeling guilty already, I was all the more grateful for David's usual cheerful demeanor. Determined to make it up for my work, I immersed myself even more in my job while managing household tasks and caring for my dad. A week later, David said, "Hey John, There's an entertainment event with Thompson Industries tonight. The others are tied up with different tasks. So it's up to you. You owe me for last time, so you can make it tonight, right? I plan to work hard during office hours, but the thought of attending another evening event felt impossible. David, I'm sorry, but due to family circumstances, I can't make it to the entertainment. My apologies. Don't joke around. Get ready quickly. David dismissed my concerns. I tried to explain seriously again. David, I really can attend evening events. I'll work hard during office hours. Then he retorted, how long are you going to play the special card? If you're getting paid, you should do your job properly. What's the big deal about an entertainment event? You're really useless. Seemingly annoyed with me, I avoided interacting much with David for the rest of the day. The next day, David stopped giving me work assignments. Not only that, but I was also excluded from departmental information and projects I had been involved in. When I tried to get work from others, they all said, you have to check with David. When I asked David for instructions, he said, there's nothing you can do. Find something else to work on. I was not only deprived of work, but also assigned unnecessary tasks, field work, and even complaint handling for departments I wasn't part of. Days went by without being allowed to do any of the work I had been doing since joining the company. I was swamped with handling complaints that day. While I was working, a thick file was abruptly placed on my desk. David casually said, hey, you must be free. Summarize this document and digitize it or something. No, but I'm dealing with a complaint right now. I tried to refuse, but David retorted, what? Can't even do what you're told properly. Must be nice, getting paid, leaving on time, and all that. Really enviable. Everyone else is working overtime, trying hard, you know. As he looked around, no one met his gaze. If you can't handle this, you're useless to this company. Might as well quit, David said with a laugh, and something inside me snapped. I found myself saying, yes, you're right. I'm not allowed to do real work, and I'm subjected to what seems like harassment. The work environment is toxic. I might as well quit before I get sick. I don't need any leave or anything. I resign effective today. Thank you for everything. And with that, I submitted my resignation and left. I quit my job on impulse, but honestly, I have no regrets. I've worked hard up to now and haven't lived a lavish lifestyle. As long as I keep living the way I have been, I won't face any difficulties for the time being. That's how I felt. I decided to focus on spending time with my dad. We didn't do anything special, just enjoyed peaceful days at home where I was raised. We'd take walks to the hospital, reminisce while organizing the house, and had fulfilling times I couldn't have imagined while being busy with work. Although I wasn't struggling financially, I knew I couldn't stay home forever. I guess it's about time I start working again. Just as I was thinking this, while cleaning the entrance, a luxury car pulled up in front of my house. The man who got out of the car said politely, hello, it's been a while. I was trying to remember who he was, and then it hit me. It was Chairman Michael Thompson of Thompson Industries, whom I had met at a reception I had left early. Uncertain why the chairman came to my house, I invited him in, feeling it rude to chat outside. Sorry for the sudden visit. Oh, Mike, you're looking well. Do you remember me? Mr. Thompson started talking to my dad as soon as he entered. Then, my father's face brightened up instantly, and he said cheerfully, oh, Michael, it's you. How have you been? As they talked happily for the first time in a while. Apparently, Chairman Thompson and my father have been friends since their college days. Thompson Industries, now widely expanding its business, apparently faced many challenges in the beginning. During tough times when the food and beverage sector was not doing well and the company needed to downsize, my father was there to advise Chairman Thompson. Relying on the connections my father had built through his work, Thompson Industries managed to make a remarkable turnaround and grow significantly. Not just in business matters, But when Chairman Thompson himself was in dire straits and struggling to make ends meet, he would often come over to our house for meals. While talking, Chairman Thompson paid his respects at the family altar where my mother's photograph was placed, looking nostalgic about those days. "I never expected to meet your son, John, at the dinner. I've been worried about you since then. There was another dinner shortly after, but you weren't there. I was looking forward to talking more about your dad, so it was a shame," Mr. Thompson expressed. "I'm truly sorry for that time. As you might know, my dad is currently recuperating at home. I'm taking care of him and handling household chores," I said apologetically. Mr. Thompson responded, "Jess, I've heard. You're doing great for someone so young. Your boss mentioned you were neglecting work because of home responsibilities. But I don't think so. You've been working hard." Hearing this made me feel that my efforts were recognized. "If you're willing, would you consider joining my company? President Anderson also spoke highly of you at the dinner. We won't force you to come to the office. We can discuss the terms later, but I believe our company needs you," Mr. Thompson kindly offered. Grateful for Chairman Thompson's generous offer, I immediately responded on the spot, "Yes, please, I'd appreciate that." Subsequently, I started working at Thompson Industries. I work at the office a few days a week and spend the other days working from home. Of course, I'm also taking advantage of the company's policies. Although I'm working fewer hours than before, I'm blessed with a great team and a supportive environment at the company. I'm determined to work hard without taking this environment for granted, while also valuing the time spent with my father.